Hi everyone, we're here again at Homestead, the senior help center here on Route 19, located by the movies of Meadville, and we are doing one of our programs again for My Dog and Me. And as you know, I've kind of branched out a little bit on that, and with me today again I have Sue DeArment. This is Sue's second program with me, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to introduce her and let her introduce to you Dorothy, and we'll go from there and give you some. Today's title is going to be Tidbits for Wildlife. So Sue, it's all you.
Thank you. I'm the founder of Wildlife in Need, which was started in 2017. Prior to that, I was a wildlife rehabilitator, but my passion is to work with the wildlife and do what's best for the wildlife and get the wildlife out of the hands of people that have good intents but don't know what they're doing. And also to try to get as many animals that people fear, that they don't want to do any type of capture to contain them, try to get them as well. Also we have with us today is Dorothy Krupa. She's our capture and transport person out of Erie County, and Erie County is the second largest call rate where we get animals in the state of Pennsylvania. So we keep her pretty busy.
Give me a little bit of your background, Dorothy.
Yes, I retired in 2019. I retired from being a state park manager, and I saw an article about Wildlife in Need and went to a meeting they were having at the time, and I started volunteering with Wildlife in Need, first as a courier. Started out just as if a person had found an animal that they contained and it needed transport to a wildlife rehabilitator, I would pick it up and make sure it got to the appropriate wildlife rehabilitator. But then I took the training. There's some training for capture and transport, so that I can try to safely capture and package the animals for transport to get to a wildlife rehabilitator. So I got the training, I got a permit from the Pennsylvania Game Commission, and I've been doing this to capture and transport for about 3.5 years.
So you just mentioned something in the beginning of your introduction here about Erie County and how many situations occur in Erie County. And prior to us filming, I was saying to you, wait a minute, do you ever go into the city? So expand on that just a little bit so that we are getting everybody into this discussion and not just those of us that live in more of the outside areas.
Right, I think Dorothy explained it pretty well when we were just talking beforehand, so I'll go ahead and put that.
Sure. I mean, I live in Mill Creek Township, obviously in Erie County, but live in the township. But I respond all over Erie County to calls, and including the city. But as people expand where we live, and the animals lose pristine habitat, so they live more with people. And I go into the city frequently. Today we're talking primarily about mammals, but the raccoons, the possums, the skunks, the squirrels, they all live in the city. They live in suburban, and they can live in urban areas. So whether they're ill, something becomes ill and a person is concerned that they might have a sick animal in their yard or near their property, or whether it's something that was hit by a vehicle and someone sees something along the road or the street, we oftentimes get called, and I'll pick that animal up and get it to the appropriate wildlife rehabilitator.
Well, you were saying the number of calls that come in from Erie County, was that a lot of calls from Erie County in reference to the entire Pennsylvania or just in western Pennsylvania?
No, when we compare the numbers of calls that come into Erie County, it's the second call rate in the state.
In the state, that's what I thought you said.
Right.
I thought that was kind of interesting when you said that.
The other area is Montgomery County, and that's way over on the eastern side of the state and very populated with people. So the more people you have, the more they are seeing the animals, because the animals are being displaced and are being seen in the cities. Plus, people are also like feeding the birds. And not only do they feed the birds, but that also feeds other animals inadvertently, right?
Okay, so today we want to talk about the tidbits of wildlife, and we're going to start with mammals.
Correct.
And what are we going to start talking? Where are we going to start this?
Well, I think we ought to talk about when you wonder, is an animal is actually in trouble? And so there's certain key factors when I'm on the phone with the people, and I'm sure Dorothy is too, is trying to analyze, is this animal really in dire need, or is it something that, people aren't used to seeing and just happen to hop into their area. So the first thing is it actively bleeding? That's a red flag. Now, all these I'm going to mention are red flags. Does it have difficulty breathing or mouth breathing? When we're talking about mammals, normally they're pretty closed mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's extremely hot or they have a fever or something's wrong, they're going to be mouth breathing, because that's how they cool their bodies, except for, I know those animals that have their ears that are perked up, like in the V's, like you look at coyotes and you look at fox, they also use those ears for regulating their body temperature. But when it gets too hot, they're panting. There's also usually something else going on. They may not have coordination. They may not be able to walk right. They may walk and lay down. And the biggest thing is, are there flies, especially during the time when the weather's so hot? Are there flies around it? That's a big indication that animal's in dire need and that it needs to be attended to quickly. When there's flies, there's maggots. And one fly can lay 75 to 100 maggots within a 24-hour period. Maggots will kill an animal. They'll go inside.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there you go.
I don't even like the thoughts of it.
Yeah. And the other thing is, with some of the other new age diseases that are coming about, are they showing neurological symptoms? Now, what does that mean to the person that you're talking to? Neurological, what's that mean? Is it going in circles? Is its head drifting like this?
Oh, wow.
That's head trauma, or not neurological, and it could be trauma, it could be, the disease is affecting the head. There's parasites that affect the brain.
Okay, so I make a phone call. Let's start at the beginning. How do I know who to call? I'm looking outside my kitchen window. I see something, they're falling into some of these categories. What do I do now?
Okay.
How do I find you? Or how do I find Dorothy?
Okay. We are under Wildlife in Need on the computer.
Okay.
So when you put in wildlife, it can come up with rehabilitation centers, it can come up with Wildlife in Need. It can come up also with the Game Commission. All of the rehabilitators and the Game Commission have our numbers.
Okay.
But it also comes up with our number online as well. And I'll tell you what that number is if we want to advertise that. It's 814-414-4224. How that works is when somebody dials that, they get our system that gives them 5 different choices. And the third choice basically is, do you have an animal that needs captured? And that takes us to our answering service, which we have an answering service we've hired out of Franklin. They have somebody that actually talks to the people, gets their name, number, and what's going on with the animal. And then they send that to the area in which that animal is located. So we have 16 areas in Pennsylvania. Dorothy's in Area 1. If it's in Erie, Crawford, Warren County, Mercer, or not Mercer, I'm sorry, there's another county in there. Anyway.
Venango maybe or something.
Right, Venango, that's what it is. She will see all those assignments that are sent to her, and so will I, because I live in that area. And then that person who responds is going to call you.
And you're going to call me back. How long does it take? Give me a guess. In a good time, how long? Half hour?
Probably
hour,
5
2
minutes.
Oh, okay.
5,
We're
10,
looking just
5,
a couple
10
minutes.
minutes, yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
If I typically, my habit is, because I am retired and because I've decided to volunteer and it's something I want to do, I keep my phone with me because we get a text alert. And as soon as I look at where is the animal, meaning, how far is it from me? Is it reasonable that I can handle this call? Or is it closer to Sioux, or maybe it's further south in here in western Pennsylvania? But if it's close to me, I'll typically respond and claim it within 5 minutes. And then it might take me a few minutes to get, finish whatever I'm doing and then make a phone call. But I'll call you back probably within 15 minutes to a half an hour of you talking to our dispatcher.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so where are we gonna start? So now we've decided, I made the phone call, but what mammals am I concerned about here? What are the most common?
The most common ones are, your rabbits, your squirrels, possums. Now, lately, not in our area, Dorothy, but on the eastern side, we're getting hit with fox calls with mange. I mean,
Fox calls with mange, or is this something that really occurs over in that area, or mange
everywhere.
and
It's
fox?
everywhere in Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
It just is in the more populated areas. I had mentioned before, Montgomery County, Bucks County, all that in the southeastern part of the state. Because of the number of people and the concentration within a small area, these animals are also being put into a small area. And the closer they are, the more stressed they are, the more their immune systems are compromised. And then this mite is a microscopic insect that goes underneath the skin and causes them to get this rash and itch. The itching is what causes the fur to fall
For the mange.
out,
Yeah.
basically. And then sometimes, when it gets to the later stages, they get like bed sores on them. They get this crust on their ears, and their eyes get crusty. They lose their fur. That sometimes it's a wonder what people are looking at. They look so bad.
Well, let's go back to, so I've made my phone call, I get one of you two on the phone. I'm panicked. I don't know, I've always been told, don't touch them, don't pick them up, don't do anything. What do I do next? I mean, what do you tell me to at least give some safety to that animal until you are fully involved in this, and I'm just the idiot looking out my window thinking, now what am I gonna do? Can I touch them? Can I go towards them?
We prefer no. We would prefer you don't do that. And it's for a lot of the reasons, like, we don't know exactly what's wrong with the animal.
Mhm.
We don't know that, we don't know if could you catch some type of zoonotic disease from it? Is it an animal that might be rabid, or you could get bit or scratched by any animal. Any animal that has a mouth could bite you. So you could be injured by any animal that you approach that is protecting itself. So no, we don't. We don't want you to approach it, but I would like you to keep an eye on it if you can, because it's going to take me a certain amount of time to get to you and to the animal, and it's exceptionally helpful if the person stays there and can help me find it quickly when I get there.
So stay in contact with you on the cell phone, stay calm myself.
Stay calm, just keep an eye on it. I'll get there, and I can, I'll typically check what your address is and give you some kind of ETA, whether I can be there in 20 minutes or it might take me 40 minutes to get there. So I'll tell you what kind of car I'm driving, I'll tell you when I expect to be there. We don't have to stay on the cell phone together, but either I'll call you when I get to your driveway, or you'll see my car pull in. But if you can keep an eye on the animal, that's a huge help, because between the time we talk on the phone and I get to your place, if the animal has moved,
Now we're stuck.
Now where's it at?
Right.
Now we're hunting for it, and maybe we find it and maybe we don't. Then you still might have a problem, or we haven't solved the problem because we haven't found the animal. We haven't been able to try to catch it and get it to someone who can assess its condition and perhaps help it.
Okay, which one do we want to start with? What's the most common?
Rabbits.
Rabbits. My dog's got a rabbit about a week and a half ago.
Oh,
The poor rabbit didn't make it though.
Nope.
And it was not a good scene. And none of us like that, because our dogs tend to really like the rabbits.
Yes,
and
they
want to
do.
grab onto them and quickly can be their demise. But what do we know about rabbits? If I'm lucky enough to see it before my dogs see it, and I get the dogs in the house, what do we do?
Well, it depends on, did it attack the rabbit nest? Did it attack one that was young that happened to be out of the nest? Was it an adult? Dogs aren't the only pets that attack rabbits. It's also cats.
I know cats do.
Once they find the nest, they will go back until the nest is gone.
The dog or the cat will?
Both. Now the difference is the cat will grab it, play with it, because they think it's a toy.
Especially the small ones.
Right, and I'm talking about the nest at this point.
Okay, the nest,
yeah.
all right.
You know, and then cats carry a pasteurella bacteria that causes problems with infections with all animals, and oftentimes they will die within 24 hours. But it's a fact, and when somebody finds one,
There's more.
there's more in the baby in the nest, and that could be from 4 to 7 babies. You know, so good to be able to, you know, figure out. Maybe they can find the nest. With the cat, so not so much. With the dog, yes. A dog will pounce on the nest and tear that nest up. You know, they just have a good old time. And when they pounce on it, depending on the weight of the dog, they cause internal injury.
Yeah.
You know, anytime there's any blood around the nest of baby rabbits, the mother won't come back. So then they are orphaned. Even though some of them may not have, quote, been unhurt, we don't know that when it's internal.
So I could be calling you because I see some baby rabbits, and you could end up with 5, 6, 7 rabbits, or little babies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my Lord! I hope I don't see that. The one my dog had was not a baby. It was the
Okay.
bigger rabbit. So
Yeah.
it was a quick.
They tantalize each other. Let me tell you.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
what I want to mention too is people say, well, you know, I found the nest. There's no blood in or near the nest. How do I figure out if the mom's coming back? Now, if the people can contain their dogs and cats and keep them inside during
That's a
this
problem.
time, it is a problem, and I know I'm very much aware of that. But to tell whether the mother's coming back or not, they can take a string, two pieces of string, and make an X across that nest. Okay, right before dark, because usually the mother doesn't come back until dark.
Okay.
Okay, take a picture with a cell phone. Do not continue to go back and forth from that nest, because once you have a beaten path, anything else will follow that beaten path.
Sure.
So then in the morning, I mean, don't be turning on the light and checking to
So
see.
taking the string and extra, put it
X,
over the
right.
over the nest.
And to leave it alone, not to turn on the light, because some people are turning on the light all night and going, well, or if they have a game camera, they can find out if the mom's coming back. But in general, most people don't have that. So in the morning, go back and see if that X of string has been moved. And you can compare that with the picture. Because the babies, when the mom comes over and sits on the nest, they come up 2 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And so they will move that string.
The string.
Now, if they haven't moved the string, that means those babies are orphaned. Something has happened to mom. Mom is too scared to come back to the area. And it's crazy too. Rabbits will have their nests right in the middle of a dog kennel.
I know, I've seen that. We're in the middle of my fenced-in yard.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a hot spot there. They have a way to detect hot spots. And they dig this little divot or a little hole. They pull the fur out of their belly and put it in there, have their babies, cover it over with maybe some more of their fur and the grass. But oftentimes you can't tell it's there other than the grass is just heaped up a little bit more.
How long does it take her when she decides she's going to dig in my yard for her to get the nest and have the babies?
They're out of the nest within 15 days.
What about how long does it take her to make the nest?
Not long.
Okay, so it could happen. I could see it on a Sunday in a couple of days. It could be. I could have baby rabbits there.
Yes.
Oh, you'd have it the
Yes.
next day, yeah.
Oh, the next
yeah.
day. Okay,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well,
And
anytime
there's
I
no-
found, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was gonna say anytime that I found them, and I have found them a few times, then I try and block it so my crazy dogs can't
Yes.
get to it.
Exactly.
And since I'm the queen of fencing, because my dogs are always getting in or out of someplace, I usually take a round section of fencing and just any kind, even chicken wire, whatever, maybe a little bit bigger than chicken wire, and just put it around it, and maybe put something on top of it so that the rabbit can go in and out.
Yes,
So it keeps that nose of that dog
Right,
away from those babies.
right.
exactly.
Yep, you can do that. You can use pallets
Yeah.
You can put pallets over there, and you have to stake the pallets down, because you have a big dog, like I have the St. Pyrenees.
Oh, yeah,
she'll
well,
pull
forget that, she'll.
Right,
she'll
right,
take
right.
that out in a minute.
So, you know, you can, and I did that with her, because I found out she was finding rabbits, and had doggone rabbit right in wherever all the dogs are.
Sure, right where
So-
you're cutting grass too. It's,
Yeah, yeah.
they're
Yeah,
everywhere.
well, this was under a pine tree, you know.
I mowed, I didn't realize the first time I mowed this year. The second time I mowed, I realized the first time I mowed over a rabbit's nest. Right, they put a little hole underneath, they had a little, underneath, dug a hole in the dirt and got in there. And then the second time I mowed, I found the fur from the mother that she could use to make the nest. Now, by this time, they were all gone, which was great. Nobody got hurt, and it was all fine. But I didn't know I mowed right over top of a rabbit's nest until the second time I mowed the lawn.
Well, there's a heck of a lot of rabbits in the world. And in all seriousness, if we called you every time we find a rabbit's nest, you people would be spending your lifetime dealing with rabbits. Is there a lot of rabbit calls?
Well, most of the times, if there's something that somebody can handle that aren't gonna hurt the people, or the people aren't gonna hurt the animal, we tell them how to contain them and where the nearest rehabilitator is to take the rabbit.
Do the rehabilitator, wait, what's the difference between a real rehabilitator and a wildlife?
Rehabilitator,
Yeah.
same thing.
Well, and I'm thinking near me it would be Tamarack.
Correct.
Or is there somebody else that's not like that takes animals in?
What do you
Or-
mean by somebody else not like
Well, I
that?
mean, are there volunteers that just take them to their house and take care of them? Or do you always transport them to a wildlife place?
Well, here's the rules.
Yeah, that's
Because
part of
I'm
the
also
rule
the
about this.
chairperson of the Wildlife Rehab Council, is that in order to take any wild animal, you have to be a sub-permittee or permitted by the wildlife rehabilitator.
Oh, wow.
So the rehabilitator, and it's not an oh wow thing, it's okay, because people have a tendency to open up the refrigerator door and get the cow's milk out. That's a killer.
I heard it was.
If their animals are lactose intolerant, and I used to say to people, have you ever seen a rabbit or a squirrel trying to get to a cow to milk? No.
No, of course not.
Right. So just, use that type of logic. So
Okay.
there are places that sell species-specific formulas.
No, wait a minute. They sell it for cats and dogs. Do they sell it for rabbits and all those?
Rabbits,
very much.
possums, oh yeah.
Do I have to go to a pet store? Can I go to Tractor Supply?
If it's a wild animal, the advice we're always going to give for a wild animal is either, if you're able to safely contain the animal, like a baby bunny, you contact the wildlife rehabilitator, make sure they are accepting the animal and know that you're coming with it, and you take it to the wildlife rehabilitator. If there's some reason that you're not able to drive, or maybe someone found this animal while they were at work today, and you can't get off work just to drive down to Tamarack Wildlife Center with an animal, well, that's another time where we'll step in and we'll try to help, and we'll see if we have a volunteer available that will come over and pick that animal up. It's always best to get the animal to a wildlife rehabilitator, because they have the training, the experience, and the knowledge to know what to feed it, what not to feed it. And not only is food, water important, but the amount of stress that the animals, different species react to stress more or less. For example, baby bunnies don't do well when they're stressed. So if you try to keep them, and they're adorable. I mean, I would love to.
They are cute.
I would love to keep baby bunnies and raise them, but I know better than that. I know that I would be not probably hurting them and probably causing them to die, because they're not like pet rabbits. If you want a pet rabbit, there's places to
Lots
adopt
of
pet. Yep, places. There's plenty of pet rabbits out there that need good homes. Take the wildlife to the wildlife rehabilitator and let them, because there's the food issues, the water, the milk, and the stress that animal is under, and how to properly care for them. Not only keeping them alive, but then the wildlife rehabilitator has to know about that animal's natural history and its lifestyle, and how does that animal need to be taught to hunt or feed or hide, or So there's so many factors in raising a wild animal that our first instinct is, I want to keep it, it's cute, and I'd like to have it, but that's not what's best for the animal.
You said about the milk, is that true with rabbits or true with an awful lot of other mammals?
Yeah.
So basically, baby mammals cannot be given milk.
Correct. Cow's
Okay.
milk.
House milk, yeah. I didn't know that. And you know what? People should be watching National Geo Wild, one of my favorite stations, because they're showing you all the time what they do whenever they're rescuing animals, especially the ones that are up in Alaska and some of those places. Unbelievable. Okay, so what else do we need to know about bunnies? They're sure cute.
They are definitely cute. High stressed. Also, just to let people know, you know, there's some unknown reason why, quote, it used to be unknown, why baby bunnies were just dying off in the nest. Well, when we started, when I was a rehabilitator, I took a look at one of these babies and it had little chew marks on its legs and the bottom part of its body. Here it was a shrew that was
What is
biting.
Wait, shrew? I don't know that.
Shrew. It's a rodent.
I don't like rodents. I don't like mice. Is it like a mouse?
It
Sort
is
of.
similar to a mouse. If you see one, they're the ones we see, and they're actually very common. The short-tailed shrew is one of the most common.
Oh, God, that's
small,
disgusting.
They have pointy nose, no external ear flaps because they burrow through the leaf litter. You can barely see their eyes. They're gray.
How big are they? About like that.
Yeah.
About 2 inches.
Maybe they're just out in the country. They're not in the city.
Oh, they're
Are they
awesome.
everywhere?
I see them.
Oh,
As
God.
I said before, I live in Mill Creek Township. I don't know what they're doing. They come out to our bird feeder and check what's on the ground underneath it sometimes.
That's where you find an awful lot of need for a lot of wildlife is the bird feeders.
Mhm.
For the ones that appear because they're trying to get the leftover bird seed or the bird seed that has dropped
Drops
down.
to the ground,
Great.
right.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, well, what else, so you talked about the little marks on their belly, and that was
Yeah.
from is this
The
shrew?
bite of the shrew is toxic.
Oh, wow, okay. Let's go on, we better get to another mammal. How about squirrels?
Oh, squirrels? Okay.
They're
Squirrel.
brutal with bird feeders.
Well, what the heck? It's a smorgasbord.
I know it
You
is.
know, you feed birds, you feed squirrels. So there's different types of squirrels. There are your ground squirrels, and then you have your regular bigger squirrels. Most common are your fox squirrels and your gray squirrels. And then every so often, like where I live, there's some albino ones.
I haven't seen
or
those.
leucistic ones. Oh, they're beautiful. And then there's the black squirrels. There's a lot of black squirrels down in Shenango Lake area, the state park down there. That's just a mutation. It's still part of the gray squirrels.
Do you get a lot of calls for squirrels?
Yeah,
Do you?
I
yeah,
get some.
yeah.
And what should
then
you know
there,
about them?
and then hold on.
Oh,
then
sorry.
then you have the other squirrels, like your little red squirrels that are small, and they cause havoc. Okay, they cause havoc because they get up inside the attic and chew on wires. So you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
want them. And then you have squirrels that you don't normally see unless you happen to see them at night coming to the bird feeder. That's your flying squirrels. And flying squirrels actually don't fly, they actually glide. So they can get up on a branch higher up and they have a skin flap from their front arm to
Who
their
has
back.
this?
The
Flying
flying
squirrels.
squirrels.
Oh, they run.
All
All the
over.
time, all over.
Oh, my Lord.
Amazing.
They probably look like bats. No?
No,
But they,
not quite.
They're a little bigger.
They're cuter.
bigger. They're
oh,
Furrier.
God. I don't
Bigger,
wanna-
big eyes.
Okay, I don't want to see them either. Okay, cute.
Yes, you do.
No,
Oh,
no,
they're
no,
adorable.
no, no.
They're adorable. Oh, come
They
on.
are adorable.
Now, what to know about squirrels is, for instance, the flying squirrel, which you don't see that much unless you see one at night. If you hear some ruckus out by your, bird feeder, or if you have something hanging that's on your deck, you'll hear them at night. And then you turn the light on, and there's a flying squirrel.
I'm going to start
What?
looking.
Yeah, now what you need to know about flying squirrels, they're unique from the other squirrels because the other squirrels, they have, type of dens or they make their nests up in trees and they can have more than one nest. The flying squirrels, in order for them to survive cold weather, they have to be in their own little community. So they have a bunch that gather all together, and they're either in an empty log or an empty tree, or they find something. They love attics. When it's cold out, they don't all leave at the same time. Maybe a couple will leave and get food and come back when they start to get cold.
They really have a working
And
colony going on.
They do.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that's how they survive. You know, so it's real unique. I found this out by accident because I had a flying squirrel that was an older flying squirrel, and I thought, well, I'm gonna get it acclimated to outside, and, you know, it didn't make it by itself.
Oh,
It
wow.
was, and I was like, boy, that was a learning lesson. So I started doing more research and talking to other people that had experience with flying squirrels. And I basically rehabbed that squirrel and then didn't know the part of that on how, you know, they have to have supplemental heat.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So the other squirrels, and it's really funny to watch them right now because the acorns are plentiful this year, which I'm wondering what that means about our weather.
I know, but they're
Gonna
everywhere
talk-
after the acorns.
Right, and they bury their acorns. I watched one doing it in my yard last week, and my dogs are in invisible fencing, and, you know, the animals come in, but, you know, they don't know that the dogs can't go out after them. But it's really funny how many times they go somewhere and they plant something, or they have a stash.
Yes, the
That
stash.
are in
I've seen
in
that.
the cavity of the trees
Mhm.
that keep them going all winter long. The other thing, well, anyhow, so they sometimes forget where they plant things, and all of a sudden you'll have a tree start growing.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I want to also mention is there are squirrels, baby squirrels being born now. People think that squirrels and animals are just like springtime animals. They just have their babies in the spring. That's not true with squirrels or opossums, but possums are unique in their own. Raccoons, they're having babies now. And their babies will stay with them through the winter.
How many times a year does a adult squirrel have babies?
Twice.
Twice. What about an adult, what's the first one we did?
Rabbits, all the time.
They're like cats. They have them forever.
Well, yeah, and they have their
Have
slow
multiple.
season, depending on our winter. During the winter, you don't see it as much.
What about possums?
Twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
Let's jump to the possums. We have to talk about possums. What was a possum that used to be associated with tamarack that went around to schools?
Oh, that, I don't remember the
Oh,
name.
I
It
can't think
didn't
the
make
name.
it. Yeah. I
We did
know.
a program on it.
One of the girls that works with tamarack, you know, was very good.
She
at-
was excellent at it.
Right, that was Janelle.
Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't Josephine. I can't remember. We'll have to think about that.
Janelle, yeah, it was Janelle.
Let's
Oh,
talk.
Josephine, the name, I don't remember the name of her opossum, but
either.
it was a good education animal. Unfortunately, possums don't live that long.
Don't they?
No.
That's because
And
people aim for them on the road.
They do, and they don't realize that they're cleaning up because somebody else hit another animal and they're out on the road scavenging, but they don't also realize that opossums are marsupials. Marsupials, like you probably associate that with a kangaroo, and they have, you know, a pouch, not like a kangaroo, but more like a slit that comes over. So when the possums have their babies, they can have 35 babies that fit on a teaspoon. The first,
Whoa.
yes,
On a teaspoon? Come on.
yeah, that's how small they are. And then the first 13 that make it to a feeding station in the pouch will swallow the teat, and that's how they're fed. They don't, you know, it's not like they go up and suckle and let another one suckle. No, this is their teat, that's their feeding station.
Come on.
And the other ones die.
Where are you getting this information? I think you're making this one up. Is this true?
It's true.
Oh my Lord. Well, I had a greater appreciation of possums after I saw that whole program, and then we did one on it, because I thought, I didn't even want to look at them, I don't even like them at all.
They look
But
like big
boy,
rats.
yeah, but I had a much greater
They're a pretty cool
appreciation.
animal.
Yeah.
They are really a cool animal, and we get, that's not an uncommon call to get young
Really?
possums,
Mhm.
get young possums.
I always
because
see them on the road, along the road.
Mhm.
Too often the mother got hit. Well, obviously, the adult possums are getting hit on the road, but one of the complications when the mother possum gets hit on the road, if she's carrying her young with her,
Still has them.
she still has them. She still has them, and we may get a call to go get them, or occasionally a good Samaritan will take the possums, the babies, and then call us to get them to.
Could they, if a good Samaritan sees a possum hit on the road, is the best thing would be to not even examine it, but to pick up the adult possum and bring the adult possum to you, or make arrangements for you to get the adult possum in case there's still, what, kits, is that what it's called?
No, Joey's.
Joey's.
What it is people will see the babies just strewn about. And normally they will pick them up. We recommend that people wear gloves to do that, no matter what kind of animal.
How big would
But,
they be?
you know, they can be like that.
From head to rump.
Yeah.
And she could have a whole bunch of those inside of the
Yeah.
pouch type area.
Now, here's a situation that happened. Somebody picked up, it was in Erie, it was before you were on duty. And, on duty. Anyway.
No, you got it right.
And they said, oh, we have 6 possums. And I said, well, where's the mother? And I'm still on the road. And I'm like, gosh, are you close by? Because she could have another,
More.
she could have more.
13.
Well, the mother went and got the mother and put it in a box, and then went to her daughters and got the 6 and brought them to the rehab center at that point. And I started pulling out babies.
And how big were they? Just little things?
These ones in particular were like this, without the tail.
Oh, well, no tail on them then?
Well,
Well, no, not counting
no,
this.
when you're.
With the tail, they're gonna be
tail,
about this long.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
from the tip of the nose to the rump.
base of the tail.
Yeah, base of the tail. We're
So-
talking about,
so-
they're still,
So the person went and got them all?
Yep, yep.
Wow.
And I always ask if, we're not nearby, is there any chance safely? And now that's the other thing, everybody has to do things safely. We don't want somebody getting hurt, checking a possum in the middle of the road. Take the possum off the road, and then use your gloves and turn it over. See if there's a slit there. It's very noticeable once you turn them over, that there could be a slit, and double check to see if there's any babies in there. Now, the other thing that's so important is, well, there's little babies and they're still pink. I'm gonna take some scissors and cut the teeth.
No.
And I'm like, no, don't do that. But people have done that. And we say,
Well,
no,
that's their nutrition.
leave it. I know, but people don't know that. This is why we
See,
have tidbits.
That seems like a given that you would know that.
Well, they don't, and they do what they think is best, and then they may call. But we ask that you leave those baby possums alone, just bring everybody in, and, we have a way of safely pulling those babies off the teat.
Oh,
you
wow.
know. But if they're old enough that they're still able to, you can see their teeth and they're afraid and they're cute. They're about this big and they're little clingers because they're so strong and they're so, you can hold them like this and they'll hang
Oh, my
on.
heavens.
And the other thing is there's this misconception about tails. And it's an artist's idea of drawing cute possums hanging off of a branch. Their tails are very weak. They don't actually hang by their tails. And their tails are used for a couple things. They're used for balance, because if you look at the feet of baby possums, the front feet look like stars.
Yeah. I've
And the
seen that.
back feet look like this. They have thumbs on their back feet. So when they walk, it's awkward, and their tail they use to balance. If you
Oh my
notice something
goodness.
in the mud or in the winter when they're out, you'll see this mark going like this. That's their tail.
Do possums live all through the winter too, or do they hibernate? Does anyone hibernate here?
Yeah, They do to a sense. There's partial hibernators,
Okay.
and when possums get hungry, they come out. Because they have like fleshy ears and the tail's fleshy, they are subjected to frostbite, as well. So, I mean, we don't go after frostbitten animals. We can't get them. They're going to be too quick for us to get. But it happens to be if somebody happens to capture one, or one gets into their garage, they may notice there's blood on the tips of the ears and the tail. But the other thing they use their tails for is they gather their nesting material. And they just gather like dry grass or whatever's available, and they curl their tails up and they go over and make their nest. Now they don't stay in the same nest night after night. They're like nomads. They just keep going.
Oh my heavens. What else do we need to know about these possums? I was telling you this when I talked to you on the phone, then we'll come back to you in a minute, Dorothy, but I have a friend of mine who will stop her car or anytime she sees wildlife in need and tries to help. And I was telling you, I think she has done that with turtles crossing the road and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the gloves that you've got almost have leather gloves. Regular gloves, so they're going to go right through, then the teeth will go right through this. So it's got to be pretty good gloves, doesn't it?
You don't want to get bit by any animal. And you can buy the best gloves.
And still get bit.
The best gloves will prevent from the tooth from going through, but it's not going to eliminate the pressure that's behind that.
Oh heavens.
Okay? So they're just different ways. That's why we recommend being careful and calling us.
Right.
We don't put our hands in front of animals. They'll allow them to bite them or think we are food.
Dorothy, you were just going to ask something.
Yeah, I wanted to make just a point about the possum, and we were talking about do they hibernate, and Sue was mentioning that when it warms up, they'll come out. Well, when it warms up and they come out, it's the daytime. And there's a misconception that many people have that if you see a wild animal out during the day, a possum, a raccoon, a fox, something's wrong with it.
They're rabid. That's what people think.
That is what people think. But if you stop and consider the time of year you're seeing them, and especially in the spring, if I was going to get out of bed and go eat, would I get out when it's 40 degrees out in the sunshine about noon, or would I come out in the middle of the night when it's still like 12 degrees out?
I'll take the noontime.
So will the possum. That's exactly
Really?
right. Yes, so will the possum. It is not uncommon to see wild animals out feeding during the day, or just out and about. You might not actually see them feeding. You just see them out and about and you go, ooh, that shouldn't be out there. It's daylight. They shouldn't be there.
People say that all the time.
That's not necessarily true. You can't tell that an animal is sick or isn't sick just because it's out during daylight hours. And if it is in the spring, consider that it might be out looking for food. And would you go out during the sunlight when it's warmer, or would you come out in the middle of the night when it's really still freezing out? Well, so will the possum, so will the raccoon. They're going to go out when it's warmer, and they'll be looking, and they're hungry. So they're wandering around.
I never thought about that.
You're
giving me too much to think about. And I have a simple mind.
I know. This is...
Okay, should we jump to something else? We've got a few more here. How about skunks? I don't like them at all.
Oh, I like them.
Vivi Lapew, they're so cute.
Well, they're cute, but I had a dog get skunked twice in 4 days. I had a real hatred towards skunks at that point. That was a little too much.
Yeah, it happened to my niece.
Yeah, well, how about skunks? Do we do...
We get them. We get calls about them, sure. I mean, and again, in the city, they're in the city. They're in the city, they're in the townships, the boroughs. The more common one that I get in the city in Erie County is it got hit by a car, or it's alongside the street and it's not really going anywhere. It's still alive, but it's not moving around. Well, when I look at that and I see that animal standing there, it probably got hit by a car. Could very well be suffering a concussion, because any animal can get a concussion, and that's a frequent problem for the animals that we see, that we pick up, especially hit by cars. So I do respond to skunk calls, and they, like any animal hit by a car, it may or may not survive to get to the wildlife rehabilitator, but I will get that animal and get it properly boxed or crated and call the appropriate wildlife rehabilitator.
And my question is, if a skunk is hit by a car or injured, can they still spray me?
They can, but at least from my experience in having done it several times, spraying is a defensive mechanism. It's a
Right.
protective. So at least in the experience that I've had, when they're injured, they're not as, I don't want to call it aggressive or it's a defensive. They're just, especially an animal who's concussed. When they're concussed, they're kind of out of it. They don't really necessarily aren't fully cognizant of what's going on around them, and they don't put up much of a fight, or they don't turn. That's the other thing, is they don't turn their body so that their tail and their back end is. If that happens, then it's not as concussed or disoriented as you might have thought it was. So could they? Yes. Do they generally? Not in my experience. But the same advice that we give for any animal. They have a mouth, they can bite you. So I've always got leather gloves, or I will sometimes even slip a shovel underneath to pick the animal up and to put it into a container so that I don't need to touch it. They are considered a rabies vector species, so there is that to be concerned with. If you were bitten, you definitely need to seek professional medical advice. So we advise to call someone who has some experience in understanding what they need to do.
What should we do next? I don't want to run out of time here. I'm
No,
gonna
that's all right.
I'm gonna look
So-
towards my cameraman and ask him how much time we have still.
Skunk.
About 10 minutes or so.
Skunks are born once a year, okay? So they're pretty much done once they have their spring babies, but I also want to mention that skunks cannot spray unless they can lift their tail. So,
What?
yeah, so their normal defense mechanism is they'll warn you before, they're
Before
gonna
they
spray.
spray.
And they'll, like
They
that.
stomp their feet.
And they go, like that, right? And then if you don't heed, they'll turn around and flip that tail up, and they can spray 15 feet away, 12 to 15 feet.
Wow.
And the babies, they can spray as soon as their eyes are open. So their eyes are open when they're still with mom nursing. But they don't know how to aim.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And so it's more dangerous dealing with a smaller one. Skunks do have an odor, and but it's not always that offensive, as long as you're not directly sprayed. So when Dorothy's talking about picking up a skunk that is been hit by a car, usually we double crate them, what we call, like if you put them in a box, then if you go to your car, put it in a Rubbermaid container, that box in the Rubbermaid container. So there's no leakage out in the car, and that helps that way as well. So, yeah.
Well,
What were you going to say? You were going to talk about something about...
I think I was just going to talk about the little ones. Well, the other problem is oftentimes they're hit by cars, and of course if the mother was hit by a car and she had young in a den,
They're going to come out.
yes, they're going to come out. And again, that would be a good time to call Wildlife in Need, and we'll try to collect all of the young ones, especially if the mother has passed away and been killed by the car.
The babies will go to her if she's left out on the road.
Wow.
So we want to pull that off and then watch the babies come up, because they're still hungry, and they're going to go after
To her.
Now, if they're a little bit older, where they've been just starting to get active, and which they do, like all kids do, they like to run away from the parents while they're sleeping or not paying attention. It's okay to see baby skunks out, but if you see the dead skunk nearby, you can only assume that's the mother. And if not, just look at their behavior. If they're very shaky, seem like they're really looking hard for food, then they're probably orphaned. But if they're just walking along,
I've never seen a baby skunk. I always see
Oh,
the
they're
older
cute.
ones.
They're cute.
Oh, they're cute.
They're
bet.
so cute.
Yeah.
Some people get them for pets too, don't they?
They are propagators, yes. They can buy, and they have to have their receipt, yeah.
Pick the next one important. Should we jump to the raccoon or should we jump to the groundhog? I'm gonna let the deer pass because most of us know about deer, or do we need to talk about deer?
Do we know? Well, yes, because we
The
get a
deer.
lot of calls on deer.
Fawns.
Well, we're seeing a lot of things, in Meadville Tribune just ran a big article about the deer population and the infestation with something. But let's talk about deer. What do we do if we see baby deer?
Baby deer are born normally, and I say normally, in the springtime, in the
Okay.
summer. Usually in May is the average. And what mother does is oftentimes when they're born, they really are weak.
Mhm.
So they need to rest. And mom will feed them. And the first feeding always is important because that has the cholesterol.
Right.
It's cholesterol in them.
Yeah.
And then she'll leave them in what she thinks is a safe place. Now that safe place could be up against a nice warm stone wall, which could be somebody's home.
Mhm.
What we recommend is, you can't always determine this is an orphan fawn if there is a dead deer out on the road, unless the baby is old enough to be able to stay with it. Because again, there's so many that we don't want to take the baby away from its natural mother. And so we ask at least, leave it alone for the night, check in the morning to see if that baby's still there. Now, if it's on the side of the road, you can actually move it off into the weeds because then somebody else is going to see it.
Mhm.
And then there could be a problem with people taking them home, which is not
Stupid.
advisable.
Not good.
Not advisable at all.
Huh.
However, there are some, and I found this out in Centre County, that are born late. Those are mostly hydrocephalic. For some reason, they have these enlarged heads and brains, and they don't make it.
A
So,
deer
a
can
late-
be hydrocephalic?
Yes, yep, yep.
Oh, Lord.
So there are some that are. We, as Wildlife in Need, pretty much after, the mid-June area, it's too dangerous
Mhm.
for us to go and get one of these that might be orphaned. When they can get up and run on their own, they may at that point hook up with another female. Or the little ones may hook up with a male. The male may hook up with a buck, which I've seen that myself. So there's also chronic waste disease, which there's
Is that the one they're talking about now in the newspaper?
well, there was two things in the news.
Okay.
Chronic waste disease is something that is statewide. It's actually here. It's here to stay. We in Pennsylvania are not, as rehabilitators and capture and transport people with, it's from a DMA area, disease management
Mhm.
area, designated by the Pennsylvania Game Commission. We have to go
Right.
hands off, call the Game Commission.
I think that's what it said.
Yeah.
Right, and then if it goes all the way through Pennsylvania, what difference does it make? We don't know what those rules are gonna be
Mhm.
anymore. We don't know if we can't do deer anymore,
Right.
or if we're gonna have to use other precautions. Okay.
Okay, anything
So,
else?
yeah, you can go on to raccoons.
Well, let's do
or-
raccoons and groundhogs together. I don't like either one of them.
Again, I like them.
No, they're
If
so
we get-
destructive.
They can be depending upon where they are, and certainly if they get in your attic or.
Or in the
in
barn,
the
to
barn.
get to the
They
cat
can-
food.
They can be,
Yes.
They certainly can be.
Mhm.
But, again, they're all over, even in the cities, even in the suburbs. We get raccoon calls, not uncommon. Again, as any animal hit by cars, we get the hit by car calls.
Mhm.
And same thing as done with the skunk. Try to safely get it into a container, into a crate, get it to the proper wildlife rehabilitator. We also get the young raccoons, and again,
They're
they're
cute.
adorable. They're absolutely adorable to look at. But the decision needs to be made. We need to first try to figure out, is it an orphan or isn't it an orphan? If we believe it is an orphan, then again, we can safely capture it and take it to the proper wildlife rehabilitator. But, what
Yeah,
else?
the reason a lot of them are orphaned is because somebody didn't want the adult raccoon that they're seeing in their area around, and they live trap them and remove them, which is not really allowed.
I know it's not allowed.
It's not allowed, but then all of a sudden they're calling us up and the rehab centers become inundated with these calls. We moved the mother, we took her 5 miles away or 10 miles away, or somebody offed her, they killed her, and all of a sudden there's babies. Well, they have babies in the spring and the fall. So there's this inundation of calls and baby raccoons going to these rehab centers that really didn't need to be. If people just realize, once they raise their babies, they're going to be out of there.
Yeah.
And it takes a little bit of time. But then these babies are orphaned. They're actually brought up in a rehab center without a mother. And, the rehabbers saying, we can't take any more. And so you call the game commission.
Right.
In that case.
Yeah, the rehabbers get so many young, and they take a couple months or more to fully raise. The young animal is now old enough and mature enough that it can be released into the wild.
I think we're going to run out of time. Tell me the 3 most important things people should remember when they saw this. Each of you give me 3. 3 things you want people to know.
Each one of us give you 3?
Yeah, not me, you 2.
Oh, us.
Give me 3. 3 important things to know, tell people. You've got 3, you've got
that it's
15 seconds.
It's very common to see fawns without seeing the mother. So a fawn alone doesn't mean there's anything wrong. You have to look for other signs. Are there flies around it? Are there any wounds? Do you see any type of injury? Where is the animal at? Is there a deceased doe nearby? So if you see a fawn and you don't see some additional problem, let it alone. Keep an eye on it.
I'm sorry, what about wildlife in general? Give me 2 that are just general wildlife you want everybody watching this video and this program to know.
Don't wait. When you suspect that there's an animal not acting right, call.
Call you.
Right.
And they can go online and put wildlife in need, or that will give them the center, or also might give them the game commission.
You can also, the Game Commission is a great resource, because if you forget the name of our nonprofit, or you don't know who your local wildlife rehabilitator is, call the Pennsylvania Game Commission. No matter where you are, you can call them. They have a statewide answering system. They can point you in the right direction to get help.
Anything else people need to know? Become a
safety,
volunteer.
Safety, always, but safety for the people that call, safety for our volunteers, and safety for the animal.
Okay, good.
One final thought. Please don't keep the animal yourself. They're adorable, especially the young ones, but please don't keep them yourself and try to raise them. There's too much that none of us know, even myself. I'm a capture and transport volunteer. That's all I do. I capture them, I transport them, I take them to someone who knows much more than I and has the experience to care for the animal. Because I would only harm it if I tried to keep it myself.
So we're going to do 2 additional programs. Give us a heads up on what are the new things we're going to do.
Yeah, we'll be doing tidbits for birds of prey, and then in the springtime, which I think is most appropriate, I think we'll do the tidbits on songbirds.
Songbirds. I've done programs on my favorite, which are the bluebirds, and also the purple martins.
Right.
Because we do so much about them. But I'll be very anxious to have those occur then. Thank you very much, Dorothy. Nice meeting you. I'm glad you were here. Sue, I see you often, but it works well, and thanks for doing this program. I think we gave a lot of good information.
Yes, and thank you for allowing us to have this program.
Anytime.
And Armstrong.
Yes, Armstrong. Thank Armstrong. Even our cameraman.
Right.
We have to thank him too. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.